Release the Kraken!
Welcome back, fellow game designers. Ron here at Lame Duck Studios, and we are working on our elf skin weights. I'm going to go over to the hand. We did the body and the torso and the leg already. Let's do the hand. Once we do the hand, we can mirror everything over. So I'm going to grab the wrist, skin, grab my skin weights. You come down to the wrist. That's left, 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 left wrist. And you can see the left wrist should really control pretty much just the wrist itself. It doesn't need to have any control over here. That can go to the hand. We're never really going to bend that joint in the middle though. What we want to do is grab that thumb joint. So I'm going to go down to the thumb. Start there, that first thumb joint. And you can see the thumb joint has control over the wrist, which it should never have. It might control a little bit above the hand, it might control a little bit inside the hand, but it shouldn't have any control back here, because when you bend your thumb, you're not going to pull your sleeve with you. So I'm going to scroll down, I'm going to set this to replace, I'll set the value to 0. Again, you could go through and select the vertices to do this, like we did before. I'm just going to paint it off. So I'll get in here with that 0, have that, we'll set the replace. You can use color ramp if you like. I'm going to have black and white just to have a change of something to look at. Color ramp hurts my eyes every now and again. Change my brush size, and now I will paint this away. You can see as I paint, because I have black and white on, that's again checking the color ramp, it should go down to 0 or black. You can see here where it's very, very faintly gray. That's where having the color ramp on could be beneficial. So just turn that back on. Remember that deep blue to black is no influence, so this being deep blue is fine. Even if you get it all the way to black, like if I were to change fingers and come back, it might refill because deep blue to black is still the same. So that should be okay. I don't need any control over the hand up here. Okay, I'm going to go down the list of joints on the thumb. The second thumb joint has control over the wrist. It should not, so I'm going to go through and just paint that off. And the second joint should really have no influence over the palm, so I'm going to turn the access to the palm off, take away some of the control over the back of the thumb here, because we don't need that on the middle thumb. Next joint down. Looks pretty good, just make sure it's not grabbing anything kind of wild out there. Again, your color ramp will help you see some of that hidden stuff. Last joint on the list for the thumb. Make sure it's not grabbing anything weird. It really shouldn't bend anything back here, so I'm going to turn these to 0. Test our thumb, bend it, make sure it does what we expect. That's okay. Okay, next finger. So I grab the index finger, go ahead and just bend it 90 degrees down. That'll give you the most extreme bend. It'll also give you access to the finger so it's easier to paint. Grab the skin, jump back in, scroll down to the index finger, index 1. Go back to black and white here. Actually, it's up to you, but I'm going to have this set to replace and 0. Index finger should not have anything back here, so I'll just paint this off, paint that off. Index finger should not have any control over the fingers next to it, so paint these off. It may have some control in the middle, so I'll leave some of that, but over here on the finger itself, I'll take that out. Let's go down to the list of the next one. So index 2 should not have anything on the middle finger, so I'll take that off. Index 2 should have no control over the middle of the hand back here, so I'll take that off. Index 3 should have no control over the finger over here, so I'll grab that, turn that off to 0. And last but not least, index 4 should have no influence over that finger. Make sure nothing back here. Okay. Let's go back to the finger here. So index 4 should have some shared control between here and here, but it doesn't need to have anything up here. So change my brush size. Down here where we're getting some of this coiling, that should be on the next joint up, so that's going to be left alone. Let's go back to number 3. And then on number 3, it should have this, so I'll hold shift, I'll smooth that out. Let's grab add, change my value 0.1, start to paint that off, or paint that on, I should say. Now some of this is pulling out like that because it's attracted to the other finger. So I'll go through on the middle finger. You can see if I grab that one where it's controlling, it's trying to grab some of that. So I'll turn that back to replace. I'll do 0. That'll be off. middle 2. Middle finger should not have any control over the index finger, so I'll turn index finger control down to 0. So what happens is when you remove control, it tries to give it to the nearest joint. So since I'm on this joint and I say, hey, you should not control this, it says, okay, well, what's closest? And it tries to average it out. So grab that one. You do not have control over this. Last but not least, it's good enough. Let's check the finger, make sure it bends the way we want it to. It does squish a bit, but as long as we're getting nothing pulling from everything else and it looks like a finger, we're okay. Alright, so that's good enough. I'll set that back to 0. That to 0. This one back to 0. And now it's a matter of rinse and repeat on the other fingers. So I'll grab this one, move it down. And I do it this way because it's easier to paint on one than it is to paint on the others, like that. Grab the skin and the skin weights, go down, we're on the index, we're on middle finger. So I go back to middle 1, turn off my color ramp real quick, replace and 0. Middle finger should not have control over the actual hand. No control out here. No control under here. A little bit on these knuckles is okay. Should have no control under here. So this is one of those moments where all these lines are in the way. I'm going to go to Show, come down to Selected Highlights, turn that off. It's going to share a little bit in here, so I'm not going to get rid of that. Nothing on the pinky. Nothing back here. I don't need to worry about this side of the ring finger. Okay, let's go down to the next joint, middle 2. Middle 2 should have no control over this finger here, so I'll turn that off. Remember that black is set to 0 influence and the white is set to the 100% influence. Or you can use your color ramp. You can see where some stuff is. Again, deep blue to black is no influence. So that's okay. I'm going to go down to the next joint. I'll turn off my color ramp. Get that. Pretty good. Let's go down to the last one. Okay, let's test it to make sure it bends. Let's turn Show Selection back on. good. Last one. Not the most natural fingertip in the world, but it'll work. We really should have moved that back some. We still can, but we'll do that later if it's really that important. Okay, put this one back to 0. Select all those. Highlight the zeros over here. I'll just hit 0, hit enter. Next joint. Open up the skin weight option. We'll go down. This is the ring finger. So left ring finger. Did I name these backwards? Pinky, no, pinky is pinky. Okay, ring finger. That's a weird location for you, but sure. Let's go ahead and bend the ring finger into bending position. Go back down, make sure I have that selected. Ring finger, you don't need any control over here. Nothing back there. You don't need control over, let me turn the selection highlights off again. If you don't want to see the joints, you can actually turn the skeleton, hide that as well. So no control in here. No control underneath the hand. No control over the pinky. In the middle is okay. They'll share a little bit. Okay, next joint down. The middle joint does not need anything up here, so we'll just paint that away. Dex down. Last one. Alright, now we're going to do the pinky. For the pinky, I'm just going to leave it out as it is. Oh, we didn't check the rotation of the joints. Let's turn the highlight back on so we can actually see what we're grabbing. We'll turn the skeleton back on so I can see that. Yeah, we'll set that one back to 0. Let's move the pinky down. I was going to not move the pinky, but it just makes sense to see this part of the hand end. Grab the skin, skeleton, go down to our pinky joint. Pinky, pinky, pinky. There you are. Pinky and the brain. I'll turn off these show highlights. Hide that skeleton again. Pinky should have no control over the wrist. You can see it has stuff back here. If you turn the color ramp on, you'll see some of that hidden stuff. Remember, you want deep blue to black, or if you're using the black and white, it should be all black for no influence. Should have nothing on this side of the ring finger, should have nothing on the middle finger. Under the hand, we don't need to have all that. And we don't need too much on here. Go down to the next one. Get rid of this. It's all extra. Next one, get rid of those. Next one. Always something hidden. Alright, so now let's check the bending of all the fingers, make sure they do what we want them to do. Put the highlight color back on, I'll turn the skeleton back on. Pinky, do you bend? You do. Do you bend? Yes. Do you bend? Okay. Alright, set that back to 0. So that is the hand. Of course, save our work. Just in case something breaks, you know. So save this. So I'm going to select all the joints and zero them out. So go up to select. Let's do this. I'll grab the main joint and then select hierarchy. We will select 0 in here. So for rotations, 0, 0, 0. Enter. That should set him back to 0. So if I select him, make sure we grab the skeleton, open up the skin weights, turn off the show highlight just a second. So if I grab like the pelvis, you can see what's controlled, right? That hip should really have no control over there. Okay, so that's the left on that side. Spine. Let's go down to the head. Okay, so pretty much everything looks good except for that hip joint. Let me go ahead and grab that hip real quick. This hip, when it moves, should not really pull over here. So I'm going to turn that to 0. Replace 0. I'll paint that off. Check the back side. Okay, so I'm going to have that selected. Select the body. I'll turn the selection highlight back on so you can see it. Let's go up to skin. Go down to mirror skin weights. Hit the option box. We are doing the YZ plane. You can choose your options here. Right now I have it set to closest to point on surface. You can do closest component. You can do raycast. It is up to you. You can also add extra areas of influence. So depending on your model and how complex it is, you might have to adjust your settings. But I think this is probably going to be okay. And then down here for your association options, you have closest to joint. So when you do the mirror over, whatever is nearest to that is what it's going to grab. You can do a 1-to-1. It'll say, what do you have? And then it'll go, I'll have that too. And you can do it by joint label. We didn't label our joints using the labeling system, so that's not going to work for us. I think this is good. We're going to do positive X, which is this side. You can see where the X is. This is positive. And then the back side where there's no arrow is negative. And I'll just hit apply. So I'll select the model, grab that, open the skin weights. You turn off the show highlight. You can see we have some stuff added on. That's from the mirror. If I go down to the right hip, you can see the right hip is now mirrored across. Spine should be pretty even all the way down. That patch on the head should be taken care of. Remember we had that empty spot up here, so if we go down to the head, that should be all filled in now. So there are occasional artifacts when you do a mirror across. So go through and just check them. For example, on that left and right hip, this one is trying to control in the middle here. That shouldn't have that. And this one is also trying to control in the middle. It shouldn't have that. So paint that off. And then on that one, I'll paint that one off. Check the back side, make sure. Same deal. Okay. Test your model, make sure it does what you expect. If I grab that one, I should have a similar setup. Hey, it works. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and set him back down to 0. I'll grab that bottom joint, select hierarchy. I'll turn the show selection highlight back on so we can actually see what we're grabbing. Set the rotations back down to 0. And this is where we will save it here. We'll come back in the next video, we'll attach the eyes, and we'll set up the hair. Alright, make sure you save your work, and I will see you in the next one. Hey guys, thanks for checking out my channel. Misty and I both thank you. If you've enjoyed the video you just watched, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe. Also, if you have any comments or suggestions for future videos, make sure you leave them down in the comments. I upload new content every Sunday, and I release content every Wednesday. Also, if you'd like to support the channel, I do have a Patreon. Get content early. I also have official merch, Lame Duck Studio merch. It does exist. They do exist. So make sure you stick around for anything new, and I will see you next time.